That's all right. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand Bhagwan Ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine. Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodar, Jaya Radha Damodar, Radha Damodar, Jaya Radha Damodar. Jaya Radha Damodar, Jaya Radha Damodar, Jaya Radha Damodar, Jaya Radha Damodar. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Okay, leave it now.
Jai Om Vishnupad Parameswara Jikchaya Stotra Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Parameswara Jikchaya Stotra Jwan Vishnu Bhakti Stan Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki. Namchare Shri Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem se kaho Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Sindhu Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Yamuna Mai Ki. Tulsi Devi Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Pavan Harinam Sankirtan Ki. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki. Hare Krishna Maha Mantra Ki. Samved Bhakta Vinda Ki. Panchatattva Ki. Shri Radha Gokulananda ki. All glories to single devotee. All glories to single devotee. All glories to single devotee. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Shri Damodar Bhagwan ki.
Yeah, you came yesterday.
कमलवरे नाखाम अद्भुत सिंगाम दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृंगाम जगदीश हरे केशवधीता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश Hare Krishna, everyone. So, if any youth are in the temple room right now, can you please head upstairs for a PS talk? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
There is a founder saying a talk.
in library upstairs. So you can join.
Leave it there. People will come and sit.
I'll take these.
Hare Krishna. So could I humbly request everyone come, little friend here, forward please. Hare Krishna, everyone, please. So there is one quick announcement. There is one car, Black Peugeot, is blocking the neighbor's driveway. Can you kindly move it? It's a driveway, yes. Please. Thank you so much for that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we are very, very blessed today to have the association of His Grace Ananda Chaitanya Prabhu. Let's welcome Ananda Chaitanya Prabhu with one loud Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Prabhuji was with us some 10 years ago.
The last time I visited was December 2015.
15, that's nearly.
But I was coming in 2007, 6, 9, 10, many times.
Yeah. So we are very, very happy to have you here, Prabhu. Very brief introduction. So Prabhuji did his economics from Cambridge University around 20 years ago. So I was speaking to Prabhuji. Oh my goodness, something going on in the kitchen. Yeah. So Prabhuji is practicing, sincerely practicing Krishna consciousness. Actually, 2003. But before that, his family always worshipped Radha Krishna. So he was born in the family of devotees. So he became very serious when he was at university in 2003 at Cambridge University. Later, Prabhuji joined Bhaktivedanta Manor in 2007, and he was a leader, ashram leader there, and doing so many services. And he is the founder of College of Vedic Studies. You remember that word? He is the founder of College of Vedic Studies. So he was doing a number of services, and later Prabhuji moved to Budapest in 2016 and is disciple of His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj. And he's in Budapest. Currently is acting as an ashram leader and a Sankirtan leader as well, and is also editing Shivaram Swami Maharaj's books. Traveling and preaching and other services he's doing today. So he's with us, and he's going to talk about eternal security, on the topic of eternal security, and as well as he's going to talk about a book that is recently released by Shivaram Swami Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Rajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Viraj Kachari Shota Shota Shri Srimati Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Manchester Ki Gaura Bhakta Brinda Ki Nittai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to Samba devotees. All glories to Samba devotees. All glories to Samba devotees. All glories to the Lotus Feet Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone. So it's a pleasure to be here in ISKCON Manchester. Like I said, it's been some years since I've been here. The pictures have changed, some of them. I would come here for 1 week, sometimes 2 weeks at a time. We'd stay upstairs and go locally to Manchester, distributing books, Liverpool, Chester sometimes, and trying to support the devotees in the temple. At that time, Gaura Krishna Prabhu was staying here also at some point. But it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for coming today for the Sunday Feast program and for the very, very warm welcome. So, we live in a world these days which is very... there's lots of trouble and strife. It's always the case. You open the news, and what makes the headlines? Very good things make the headlines, and very bad things make the headlines. The in-between things, they're not so significant. They're not very newsworthy. But these days, when you look around the world, we see so many significant problems and issues. Of course, the Ukraine war is very significant. I live in Hungary, and next, one of our neighbours is Ukraine. Hungary is a landlocked country, so there's many countries around. Austria, Slovakia, Slovenia, Romania, and one of them is Ukraine. So many Ukrainians, when the war began, March, April, many Ukrainians were flooding into Hungary also. We have a nice Food for Life program. We feed 2,000 people daily in Budapest for the past 30 years. But on top of those 2,000, we were also feeding another 2,000 Ukrainians. So it was quite an operation. But the Ukraine war is one thing. The resultant issues, gas prices, fuel prices, food crisis. Ukraine was really one of one of Europe's bread baskets. It was producing a lot of wheat and so on. Anyway, one of Europe's bread baskets. It was producing a lot of wheat and so on. Anyway, problems in the world. COVID. We thought once COVID was over, there would be peace and everything would be wonderful. There was this rosy picture that maybe some people had, but COVID has abated a little, and then the war, and they're saying. Next it'll be a water crisis. Anyway, there's so many stories, so many ideas. But Srila Prabhupada said that 50 years from when he made the statement in 1973. So 50 years from 1973 is 2023. He said things would collapse. He said in 50 years' time, things will collapse. So, before an earthquake, there are tremors. We're seeing the tremors, maybe. I'm not scaremongering. This is not the point of the class. I'm not trying to scare everyone. I guess the point that I want to make, and we could really go into it much deeper, but time is always short, is that we live in a world where security is very hard to come by, really speaking. I thought when I was young that, we make so many material goals in our lives, So when I was young, at some point, I wanted to be a policeman. I think a little later, I looked at firefighters and they were saving people, and that seemed very attractive. And then when I was flying on the plane, then I thought pilots looked like, very nice uniform. They were flying a plane. It sounded like fun. And then a little later, I wanted to be a banker. So that remained throughout my teenage years. That remained my aspiration in life, to become a banker. And that's what I did. I graduated from university. I went into banking. I did an internship whilst I was studying, and then I went into banking. And of course, by that time, I was practicing Krishna consciousness seriously. So my ideas had changed. But when I was young, why did I want to be a banker? Because a banker means money and prestige. And what do these two things give you? They give a certain power and security. I can buy what I want when I want. I can go on holiday. I can have a nice house. I can have safety. And the safety of being respected within the community, whatever community I may be in. So we're all looking for happiness in this material world and security within this space. But when you really look at things, how secure are we really in this world? So Niti Shastra, very interesting. It talks about this. It says 9 points, 9 fears. Our fundamental fear. There are so many different fears. So Niti Shastra explains that enjoyment fears distress. So whenever you have something, a source of enjoyment, you're fearful that that enjoyment will go away and it will turn into distress. So for example, if you buy a new car, there's a man, he's bought a new car and he's constantly looking outside just to make sure that the car's still there. When he comes outside, he's looking and inspecting, make sure there's no scratches, make sure no car's gone by and scraped against his. Very concerned that his brand new wonderful car stays that way. But how long does it stay that way, really speaking? So enjoyment fears distress. Number 2, attachment fears loss of family. So imagine if a mother's shopping with her child. And sometimes I see this, when I'm distributing books. You see the mother loves the child. But if the child for a moment is out of sight, then the mother becomes so disturbed. Where's my son? Where's my son? And then she, oh, he's here. Peace. But for those few seconds when she can't see her son, there's so much distress, worry. There's nothing like the love and the affection of a mother for her child. It's very exceptional. Prabhupada said it's the purest type of love that this material realm has. So, attachment fears loss of family. Rockefeller was late 1800s, early 1900s. He was a huge magnate, very successful in business and so on. His son was eaten by cannibals in Africa. And after that, he was so concerned about his family. He spent the rest of his years in constant distress and worry for his family members, because attachment fears loss of family. Number 3, greed fears loss of money. So when you have something, fundamentally when you have something, you fear that you will lose it. So when I'm stopping people, when I'm distributing books and I stop them on the streets, I say to them, I'm not a salesman. Basically what I'm saying is that I'm not here to take your money. That's not my point here. I actually want to give you something. Because greed, when someone has money, when someone has something, they're fearful of having to give it away. So actually we find that the most charitable people are not the richest people. The richest people are often not as charitable. It's the middle income people. They're the ones who give the most. Because the richest people, they're fearful of losing what they have. Honor fears dishonor. Honor fears dishonor. In the Bhagavad Gita, it said that for a Kshatriya, dishonor is worse than death. For a Kshatriya, dishonor is worse than death. If you've been honored in some way, then to lose that honor is a great fear in this world. The powerful fear adversaries. So Duryodhana found himself in a situation where he was the crown prince. He was going to be the next king. He had great influence over his father. But he was very fearful of the Pandavas. Because actually he knew that the crown, that the kingship was actually belonging to them. And actually they were much more powerful. They had much better qualities. They were much more endowed than he. So he was always very fearful. So he tried to kill them in so many ways. When they were young, he tried to kill Bhima by poisoning him. The Lakshagra, the house made of lac, he tried to burn them alive. He defeated them by cheating and gambling, so many ways to try and take them out of the picture. Because someone... Thank you very much. You could tell. Thank you. So someone who's powerful fears adversaries because he's fearful of losing his power. Then, someone who's beautiful, and I'm going relatively quickly because this is not the focus of the class today really, but it's setting the scene. Someone who's beautiful fears impending old age. Because what happens with old age? Yeah? So, when you're young, then you think you'll never get old. That's why they have the cartoon Peter Pan. Yeah? Peter Pan, the boy who never grew old, or never grows old. Because this is the desire of everyone in the material world. Who wants to grow old? Who wants to get wrinkly? Who wants to have bad digestion? That's Vidura says to Dhritarashtra. What does he say? He says that your teeth are falling out. Anda puraiva vadiro. From the beginning you were blind. Mandagni, your digestion is bad. Your teeth are loose. Saraga kafam udvahan, you cough up mucus all the time. You're in such a terrible state of health. And on top of that, you're living by eating the remnants of Bhima. Bhima had killed his sons, his 100 sons. So for Dhritarashtra, this was the worst attack from Vidur. Vidur wanted to shake him up and help him to see that he's not well situated. He needs to change his situation. He has to leave the palace and he has to turn to God consciousness rather than being so attached to earth and home. So, he says that you're in such a terrible state of health. So when you're young, you have youth. Who wants to get old? No one wants to get old. But as one begins to get a little older, one begins to realize that actually I can't maintain this youthfulness. Everyone gets older. And it's a fearful situation. It's a fearful situation. I was with one young man yesterday, and I informed him that he's growing a bit of a bald patch. And he was so disturbed. He said, No, you're joking. You're not serious. He said, take a picture. And he asked me to take a picture. And I showed him. And he was so disturbed, and he went and spoke to his wife. He's 10 years younger than me. And he went and spoke to his wife and showed her and said, I never knew. Why didn't you ever tell me? And he was so concerned. So concerned. There's one actress who one day she was looking in the mirror. I heard it was Marilyn Monroe, but I'm not sure if that's the case. It may not be. You hear all sorts of things in classes sometimes. But I've heard this in many places. I think it's reliable. That there was an actress. She looked in the mirror one morning and she saw one grey hair. And after that day, she was never seen in public again. Because she couldn't accept the fact that she was growing white hair. She was getting old. She was getting old. So the more attached we are, the more it has an impact on us when we're going to lose the object of our attachment. So she was so attached, an actress, so attached to her beauty. That's her wealth, is her beauty. When she saw white hair, I'm getting old. She didn't want to be seen again by anyone. And this is actually the culture that is created by Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and whatever else is out there. It's hard for me to keep track of what's going on these days. It's so much pressure on young people, particularly ladies, to conform to a particular appearance. And it's inhumane, actually. It's very terrible. And it leads to so much mental distress, so much depression and anxiety in young people these days. Mental health problems are really on the rise. And this is one of the key contributors. So somehow we have to disconnect. We have to disconnect from all of these very powerful forces, but disconnect from the material world. And this is what we're going to be speaking on. Just two more. Scholarship fears better theories. So we take the theory of Darwinism, for example, which is so rife. Every textbook tells you and presents this theory as fact. But even Darwin, when he wrote his, his paper, The Origin of the Species, he wrote this paper. In that paper, he says that this is a theory, I don't know if it's true. So actually in Hungary, like Prabhu mentioned, I live in ISKCON, Hungary, in Budapest. There's two devotees. One is a scientist, and the other is he is a professional scientist, and the other is a biologist, but doesn't work in that field. Anyway, they put together a book which is called Nature's IQ, and it talks about how the theory of natural selection and evolution is disproved in nature very clearly, in many different ways. It's a very interesting book. But actually, when they released this book, then one of the authors, one who's a scientist, he began to receive death threats. He was very badly treated within the community because their theory, their ideology, which many things are based on in today's world, many different ideas, ways of thinking are based on this theory of natural selection and evolution. It's taking God out of the picture. That's a key thing. What does evolution do? It means there is no creator. Things have just evolved and developed automatically without the involvement of some superior power. So it's one of the prime legs of atheism. So when when someone comes to confound or oppose these theories, then it's a big problem for them, especially when they do so effectively. And that's why he was receiving death threats, and actually he became very mentally disturbed as a result of this devotee, unfortunately, because there was a lot of opposition to what he was, and now he's stepped out of that arena. As a result, it was very difficult, and he's very alone. So, a scholar, he fears better scientific theories, better ideas than my own. That means I'm no longer the best. And then finally, liars fear exposure. Goebbels, Joseph Goebbels, anyone know who Goebbels was? He was the PR minister for Hitler, Joseph Goebbels. He's a very intelligent person. I guess you got to be to try and present Hitler in a positive light. And he said, if you want to tell a lie, tell a big lie. Tell a big lie. Because then everyone will think, that must be true. He's not going to lie about that. He's not going to lie on such a big thing, you know. If you want to tell a lie, he said, tell a big lie. Small lies, people nitpick and they'll say, is that true? Maybe, maybe not. If you want to tell a lie, tell a big lie. But if you want to be a liar, then you have to have a very good memory. Because when you lie, then there has to be so many other things that you have to say in order to back up what you're lying about. So you have to be very careful. So liars fear exposure. The point of this, so this is Niti Shastra. It gives these 9 points, and I won't go through them because time is short. But there is so much fear in this world. Our world is riddled by fear. This is not a safe place to be. Srila Prabhupada said that we have to develop a disdain, a natural disgust for this material world. That actually I don't want to be here. The more we try and be comfortable in this arena, the more we try and make a safe space where we can find peace, harmony and happiness here. It's a fool's paradise. This material world is a fool's paradise. You cannot find what you're looking for. The richest, most famous, most materially successful people have problems in their lives, and plenty of them. You know, I know one businessman, he's basically a devotee, he's a billionaire. Favourable to the devotees, let's put it like that. And once, many years ago, he came to me and he told me that he has everything. You know, if he wants to fly to America, he just gets on his private jet and flies to America, you know, within a couple of hours. He can go and do whatever he likes. So everyone looks at his life and thinks, wow, he has everything, you know. He must be so happy. And one day he confided to me, he said that his son has depression. And he said, can you help my son out of depression? And I wasn't surprised in one sense, because everyone has something. At the same time, there's this conception that, the rich and the famous, they got it all. But it's not the case, because this material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It's temporary, and it's a place which is full of misery. This is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. And as mature spiritualists, as mature devotees, we have to absorb and accept this. But then how do we live in this world? The fact is that we have to engage with this world. Even as a brahmachari, I live in a temple, but we have so many activities which are people-facing and which mean that we have to engage with the world in so many ways. In Budapest, we have the temple, and the rule in Budapest temple is that we run the temple based on book distribution. So 95% of our income comes from book distribution. And this is a rule so that preaching remains a central element of the running of the temple, and therefore the yatra. The other 5%, if you're wondering, comes from the donation box. Yeah, so people can give donations for the deities. But that's 5%. The rest of the income comes from Sankirtan, book distribution. But then, and this was Srila Prabhupada's model. This is how he started temples. He said he's hatched a transcendental plot by which preaching could be done, people would learn about Krishna consciousness, and our temples and activities could be maintained. But that means that we're also in anxiety. We're also in anxiety. Because we have to maintain the temple, we have to pay the bills. Gas prices are 7 times higher than they were a few months ago. We have to work out how to maintain things. So there is anxiety in this material realm. How to get to that place where there's no anxiety. Vaikuntha. Kuntha means anxiety. Vai means without. That place which is without anxiety. Of course, anyway, we'll come to that. So there's a verse which gives us a formula of how to save ourselves from distress, from fear, from this anxiety. The key thing is how to resolve this issue of fear. So this is for Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, verse 35. Whenever pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed, so wherever there's Krishna Katha, the members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Because when hopefully, you're not worrying too much about all of the problems of life right now. But when you walk out of the temple, then often we're flooded. I remember when I was a student at Cambridge, and once every 2 weeks we would have a talk. It wasn't very often. Because it was a long journey. The devotee would come from London all the way to Cambridge. It's 60 miles. He'd come by train. And it was 8-week terms. So 4 times each term. 3 terms in a year. So not very often we'd have talks. But I was so looking forward to that one, to the 2 hours to hear and have some prasad. I was so looking forward to it. And when I was in the talk, I just forgot about everything. The studies, the pressures, all of the duties you have to perform, cooking and cleaning and whatever else, social, duties, which you have to do. I just forgot about it all. It's like it didn't exist. I was just absorbed in the talks, in the katha. It was like nothing else existed. And then when I came out, I felt like just hopping and skipping, I felt so happy. You ever had that experience in Krishna consciousness? You're chanting, dancing, having prasadam, sadhu sangha, and you just feel elated. This is Krishna consciousness. It's an experience of the heart, of the soul. And when the soul is really nourished, when we really learn how to nourish the soul, then there's a bliss. There's a real deep bliss. And that's what we have to learn to experience. That's what we have to learn to tap into in our lives. Really nourishing the soul. So this Bhagavatam is saying, whenever pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed, the members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings. So I stayed in that position, in that hop, skip, jump, until I got back to my room. And then I saw the piles of papers and assignments and textbooks, and I was back to reality, or my reality, at least for that time. At least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer from anxiety or fear. Yeah. So, when we tap into Krishna consciousness, when we really learn how to practice Krishna consciousness in such a way that we can really access the nectar. There is unlimited nectar in Krishna consciousness. They say that in the spiritual world, I'm sure some of you have heard this before, in the spiritual world, every word is a song. Every step is a dance. And every day is a festival. That's the nature of the spiritual world. How do we access that? It means we really have to prepare ourselves now. We have to be very serious in our Krishna conscious endeavors. Who's chanting Hare Krishna regularly? Hands? Okay. So, quite a few of you, most of you are chanting regularly. Who's reading Srila Prabhupada's books? Okay. So, most of you are reading Prabhupada's books. So, these are some of our core practices. And we have to engage with them with a dedication. Once there was a builder, and he was the best builder around. He was very expert, very skilled, and also very quick. So whenever he was given a building contract, he would put together the plans, and he would very quickly, very expert, put up the building. And he had a very good reputation. So naturally he became very renowned. He was also very busy. He lived, he worked hard. And when one job finished, he immediately had to start another. He wasn't one of those builders, these days I've had experience also that builders, they have 2 or 3 jobs on at the same time, And so they tell one person, okay, I'll be there at 11, and then they do a couple of hours in one place, and they say, I'm just going to get some materials, and then they go to another, the next job, and never come back that day. I'll be back in a few hours. Oh no, I got busy, I'll be back tomorrow, No, he did one job, finished it, and then the next job, and then the next job. And for 40 years, 50 years, he was extremely busy all of his life. Eventually, his family, his friends were telling him, retire. Eventually he thought, okay, it's time to retire. I'm going to retire. So then he set the date for his retirement. He told his boss, okay, on this date, I'm going to retire. It's over, it's finished. So that was the agreement, that was the plan. And he thought, he wanted to retire immediately, but he thought, if I retire, what's the retirement age these days? 66 or 7. It's always going up, right? It's always going up. The government want to squeeze a little bit more out of you, So, it was retirement age. And he had the plan, okay, but if I work until I'm 65, or 66 or 67, whatever it was, then I'll get a full pension. I'll get a good pension. So anyway, it was a day of his retirement, and the boss came in and he said, just do one more house. Just do one more house. And he said, no, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I've worked hard all my life. I'm going to finish now. And he said, just one more house. Oh, but this one's different to the rest. There's no limit. There's no maximum. You can spend all the money you like. You can do it with all of the best materials. You can build whatever. Just let your imagination run wild. Do whatever you like. So then, he began to, he said, okay, fine, I'll do it. So then he thought about it and he said, I don't really want to do this. So he just did a slapdash job. He saw the land, he saw the place, and he just got whatever materials came to his hands, he just got it, put it together, and he just put together a house in the quickest time, record time. He got it done. So then the boss came and he looked around and he said, this is it. This is your best. This is really, you're happy with this? And then the builder said, yeah, I'm happy. It's done. And he looked around and he said, are you sure you don't want to add anything? You don't want to get any more materials? You don't want to, spruce it up a little bit? He said, no, this is the best. This is it. I'm done. And the boss said, okay, yeah, you're correct. Who said that?
This is for you.
Yeah, he said, this is for you. This is your retirement gift. Yeah? This is our gift from the company for your decades of service. This is for your retirement. We want you to have this. And the builder thought, oh my God. But this is maybe the story of our lives. Because what are we doing? What are we doing in our spiritual life? Every round you chant, every purport you read, every interaction you have with the Vaishnavas, every service you do is all a preparation, and you are building your house, or at least you're building your form in the spiritual world. You are contributing towards building your spiritual form in the spiritual world. How often are we thinking, okay, I would just want to get these rounds done and out of the way. There's a meme with a young boy, a young man, he chants his last round, pulls down the counter bead, 16 done, and then he gets a bead bag, spins it around, and throws it. And it leaves the world, it leaves the universe, and goes into the stratosphere, into the nowhere. Okay, I'm done until tomorrow. The shnik shnik ram ram is over until tomorrow. So how much do we have that kind of an attitude towards our Krishna consciousness, towards our spiritual practice, when actually what are we doing? We are building our future. Have we ever thought about how many lifetimes, how much hard work, endeavor, effort, mercy, austerity it took to be sitting right here in this temple room today? To be able to know about Krishna, to have access to Srila Prabhupada's books, his teachings, to know the process, the sadhana by which we can attain the ultimate sadhya, which is to go back home, back to Godhead. What is Godhead? To go back to Goloka Vrindavan and to engage in the service of the Rajvasis. This is the goal of Krishna consciousness. It's a very hefty goal, a very high attainment. It is nothing ordinary. So to achieve this is something very, very special, but it requires real endeavor. It is not a walk in the park. Govardhan Puja is coming up. When you do Govardhan Parikram, you see that many times devotees, people, they go there and they build a little house. They build a little house. Just simple, two stones, two stones standing, and then one going on the top. And what is the meditation? They're saying to Giriraj, Raghunath Das Goswami has one prayer, and the refrain is Nija Nikata Nivasa Dehi Govardhanastvam. Nija Nikata Nivasa Govardhan Dehi Tvam. So next week is in 10 days time, 26th. Today is 16th, so 10 days' time, is Govardhan Puja. So how do we pray to Giriraj Maharaj? We say, Nija Nikata Nivasa Dehi Govardhana Tvam. Please, O Giriraj, O Govardhan, Nija, your, Nikata. Nikata means close, close by, close to you. Nivas. Give me a place to stay close to you. Allow me to reside close to you. What does it mean to reside close to Giriraj? Who goes to Govardhan daily? Krishna. Krishna with the cowherd boys. Krishna with the gopis. Daily Krishna meets the gopis in Govardhan. Midday. Daytime. Nighttime he goes to Yamuna. Daytime he goes with the cowherd boys, often to the Govardhan area. And then he slips away and he meets the gopis in the Govardhan area in the daytime. So what does it mean to have a place to reside close to Giriraj? It means to be part of the pastimes, to be a servant of the Vrajvasis, to be a participant in the pastimes of Vrindavan. So this is how we pray to Giriraj. Nija Nikata Nivasa Dehi Govardhanatvam. So like that we are building our home in the spiritual world. There was P.L. Sethi, Pyare Lal Sethi. He was a builder. You know who? Does anyone know? So he was building the temple or helping for Radha Rasbihari, Juhu temple. And he was very dedicated. He really helped Prabhupada a lot in that endeavor in many ways. I won't go through all of the stories. But he was doing construction. And once Prabhupada was in his quarters in Juhu and he was about to leave. And he could hear the construction going on outside. And he was so happy. You know, usually construction is a bother, you know. It's noisy, it's annoying. Who likes the sound of construction? But Prabhupada was saying that this is like music to my ears. Because he promised, famous, Prabhupada promised, he saw Radha Rasbihari, and he said, I promise to you that I will build you a temple. Yeah, I'll build you a temple. Giriraj Maharaj has that book, I'll build you a temple. Prabhupada's promise. So B.L. Sethi, Mr. Sethi, he was building that temple. So he was helping significantly Prabhupada to fulfill his promise to Radha Rasbihari. So Prabhupada was very grateful to Mr. Sethi. So Prabhupada was about to leave and he said, call Mr. Sethi, I want to see him before I leave. So the devotees, they went to Mr. Sethi and he was very humble. He said, no, I can't meet Prabhupada. Prabhupada's such a great saintly person, I won't go and meet him. Plus, look at me, I'm covered in, dust and so on, I can't meet him. So the devotee returned to Prabhupada and said to Prabhupada, he's so humble, he doesn't want to meet you. Prabhupada said, tell him I want to see him. Tell him to come. Whatever state he's in, I want to see him. So then the devotee went back and coaxed Mr. Sethi and persuaded him to come. So Mr. Sethi came to Prabhupada, he paid his dandavats, and Prabhupada got his head and he rubbed his head. It was rare that Prabhupada would physically engage with people. Generally he wouldn't physically touch them so much. But
Sudama and Krishna.
Similar. So then Prabhupada got his head and rubbed his head. Despite all the dust and everything, Prabhupada didn't mind, he just rubbed his head and he said, thank you so much. He said, just like you're building a home for Radha Rasbihari, they are building a home for you in the spiritual world. So through our service, through our endeavors in Krishna consciousness, through our sincerity in hearing and chanting about Radha Gokulananda, Radha Shyam Sundar, through our endeavors, we are building a home. which is a real safe place. If we want safety, that place is in Goloka Vrindavan. That's the real place where we can find safety. There's no birth, old age, disease and death. There's no fear. Of course there is fear, in a way. When a demon's coming to attack Vrindavan, they feel fear. At the same time, that fear for the Vrajvasis is then overtaken by the love for Krishna. Because when they feel fear, the first person they think of is Krishna. Krishna will save us. He's done it so many times before. So that short, very intermittent fear is then just overtaken by the love and affection for Krishna. Oh, Krishna will sort him out. Krishna will kill him. No worries. Mother Yashoda feels great fear. That, oh no, my Krishna, when Krishna's on Kaliya, and he's, in Brihad Bhagavatamrita it describes that Krishna takes his chadar, he threads the chadar through the nose of Kaliya, and he, so then he has two sides, and he's riding Kaliya like a horse. Kaliya is going around on the Yamuna. And Mother Yashoda sees this, and she's overridden by fear. Oh no, my Krishna, what's happening? This terrible demon, he's going to kill him. But Krishna's there having a good time. So there's fear, but it's not the same way we experience fear. Because there they have such faith and connection with Krishna. Krishna's there. Krishna's in their midst. Nothing wrong. Nothing can go wrong. So their fear is more just a leela, and it's very intermittent. So we have to be very serious in our endeavours to go to that place, to go to Goloka Vrindavan. And sorry, Prabhu, can you bring one of the books? Vilap, the latest one, big one. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Sorry. Yes. So somehow we have to absorb ourselves in Krishna and in topics of Krishna. Too often we spend our time, our energies, our focus, our consciousness in thinking about and talking about topics which are of little relevance to us, of little fundamental help. We have to try our best to focus our energies in hearing about Krishna. And so that's really what these books are about. Some of you may have read or at least heard of books by Srila Sriram Swami Maharaj. He's my Guru Maharaj. And he's got a set of books called the Krishna in Vrindavan series. So basically what Maharaj is doing is that he's taking the first 39 chapters of the 10th canto, which describe Krishna in Vrindavan. Because after the 39th chapter, Krishna has left Vrindavan, he goes to Mathura. And then there's some chapters which describe Krishna in Mathura. And then it describes Krishna in Dwarka. So the Dwarka chapters are quite extensive. The first 39 chapters is Krishna in Vrindavan. So Maharaj is elaborating on the and explaining based on the writings of the Acharyas. He's expanding on Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. So it's this is volume 6 of these books. There's an introductory volume which is number 0, and then there's 1 to 5, and this is number 6. So this is describing, this is a book written by Raghunath Das Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, and Maharaj is commenting on this book. This is really focusing in on the Ras Panchadhyay, the 5 chapters which describe the Rasa Leela, 29 to 33. Sounds scary, it sounds intimate, but this is relevant for everyone. Anyone can read this. Of course, those devotees who are more advanced will go deeper into this. And it's really describing how Raghunath Das Goswami is meditating. See, Raghunath Das Goswami is a very wonderful example for everyone, because he is the perfect sadhaka. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that Raghunath Das Goswami's sadhana is like lines in a stone. He was very regulated. He was very strict in his spiritual practices. In his chanting, he chanted 64 rounds daily. He paid 1,000 obeisances to the Vaishnavas, 2,000 obeisances to the Vaishnavas, 1,000 obeisances to the Lord daily. He did Govardhan Parikram every day. He was very strict, very regulated, a very strong practitioner of Krishna consciousness. He was very simple in his habits. He just took a cup of buttermilk every day. This kind of renunciation we cannot imitate. We can just take inspiration from it. How to live the life of a very strong sadhaka. He's a perfect example. He lived for about 92 years. The last 45 to 50 years were on the banks of Radhakund. And he was crying for Krishna. Time is short, so I won't tell the story. But there are many stories, many great saints and sages. They just go to Vrindavan. And they just dedicate their lives to God realization. Not to God realization, to Krishna consciousness, to going back home, back to Goloka Vrindavan. And they have no other concern. So there are many stories of Babas, great souls, who just stay near some temple and they just cry for Krishna. In a similar way, Raghunath Das Goswami was sitting on the banks of Radhakund and he was just crying for Krishna. Actually, not for Krishna. He was crying for the service of Srimati Radharani. And this is what this book describes. This is 104 verses Raghunath Das Goswami's written. His verses are called Vilap Kusumanjali. It's a bouquet of lamentations. It's a flower offering, a bouquet of lamentations at the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, begging her that he can serve her in various ways. And Maharaj is just commenting on these verses. So this is volume 1 of what will be 5 volumes, commenting on these 104 verses. So this is the first 17 verses that Maharaj has commented on. It's very beautiful. I say that, what the words mean. Very beautiful. I can't express how beautiful it is. I've read it many times because I've been working on the editing of the book. Maharaj took 1 year to write this. Very dedicated time. He rises early in the morning, and for the first 6 or 7 hours of the day, he just writes. He just writes. And the artwork in here is... it's new artwork. It's very, very beautiful. Anyway, you can see the books. We have a book table outside. It's very, very beautiful artwork. A lot of effort and energy. Some of these paintings have taken months to produce. There's 2 main artists. One is based in Hungary, and the other is a Russian artist based in Alachua. This is Gornitai. Very, very beautiful. When you see it close up, very, very intricate. The artwork was also very expensive. The printing is very high quality. It's done in Hungary by a printer that we've been using for the past 30 years. It's I just want to show you one more of my favorites. The artwork, if I can find it. It's very readable. You can good for... yeah, this is very nice. Anyway, you can take a closer look at the book outside. So it just came from the printers about 10 days ago. They've been driven over. It's a very heavy book. It's about 1.5 kilos. It's high quality. the paper and everything. It's gilded, golden here. So they just came, they were driven over and arrived in the country a few days ago. So they're hot off the press. And Maharaj is in London right now. He doesn't travel so much anymore. Of course, he was a GBC, based here in the UK for 25 years. He was GBC for around 20 of those years here in the UK. So he would come to Manchester very often. He was telling me last night about his various visits. Krishna Dharma Prabhu came and established the centre here, and over the years Maharaj visited. So he would love to have come, but he said his travelling days are over, and he asked me to come instead to present the book to the devotees and try and share something. Please take a good look and take a copy of the book. We have limited copies. We have 30 here today, so it's not many, but maybe there's about 30 families here today. So let's see how many of you take the books. Hopefully most of you. And I'd like to thank you. There is more I could say, would say, but if there's any questions, comments, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You were telling about that builder story.
Yes.
So, because that house was for him, so he should have put more efforts. Now, when we know that whatever chanting and whatever practice we are doing, that is for ourselves, so we know theoretically. How does one, I mean, the motivation is there, we are doing it for our spiritual life, but what are the key steps or menu that should remind you that this is for you? I mean, that kind of inspiration or motivation, but the reminders.
Yes. Good question. You know, we live in this world, in this material world, and because we engage with the material energy so much, this becomes our reality. This material world is our reality. Job, family, friends, car, house. This is our reality. When in fact, it's a flash in the pan. Srila Prabhupada said that this spiritualist, a transcendentalist, a devotee, he has the perspective of eternity. You know, when you step back, imagine you have a problem. One of a good way to help to overcome problems is just to step back and realize and remember that actually this is such an insignificant phase of our life. And actually this life is such an insignificant phase of our journey in this material world. We've been here in this material world for millions and millions of lifetimes. Going from pillar to post. Often I envisage a pinball machine. You know, when the pinball comes up and then it goes bing, bing, bing. You know, it goes from... In the same way, for, you know, our life may be 70, 80, maybe 90 years if you're lucky, or maybe unlucky, depending on how you see things. You know, it goes so quickly. And when you step back and realize that this is one life of many millions of lives, you realize that it's actually so insignificant. It really is a flash in the pan. But we become so absorbed, so focused, and so serious about everything that's going on in this material world, when actually it's not all that significant. It's not all that important. But how do we realize that? We have to become more and more cognizant and more absorbed of the spiritual reality. Because that is actually the real reality. Reality is chanting and dancing for the pleasure of Panchatattva, for the pleasure of Radha Gokulananda. That's what they do in the spiritual world. Devotional service is a reality. Chanting Hare Krishna is a reality. Being amongst Vaishnavas and serving them is a reality. This temple room is reality. And when you walk out, you have to realize that we're walking out to an illusion. I'm not becoming a Mayavadi. What I mean by illusion is that it is a temporary reality. You're here in this world for a certain number of years. When you die, you leave behind everything here. We're not this body. We hear that all the time. How much do we really connect with that reality to understand that I am spirit soul? We have that example which is given in the Vedas, that there's a bird, the bird in the cage example. You have the bird in the cage, and we spend so much time taking care of the cage, polishing the cage, cleaning the cage, taking care of it, making sure it's fresh. But the bird inside is dying. You don't feed the bird. In the same way, we have this body. We take so much care and energy over the body. But how much do we really, genuinely nourish the soul? So we have to really engage with those things seriously. So what I'd say to you, Prabhu, just to answer your question in a more focused way and pinpoint the answer from my perspective, is we have to hear about, read about, and absorb ourselves more in the transcendent reality, the real reality in Goloka Vrindavan. And that's really what these books are there to do. Because when you read these books, then it absorbs you in that reality. It helps you to, it reminds us that actually, yes, that is my home. That is where I belong. That is such a wonderful place. And it's real. The people there, the personalities there, the interactions there, they're real and they're so nectarian. There are so many wonderful conversations here in this book amongst the devotees in Vrindavan, amongst the Vrajvasis. How they're talking, how they're engaging, the wonderful culture, the wonderful depth, the fine nature of their interactions. You know? I came to England a few days ago, and where was it? Yeah, I went with Marge to the opticians, and I just heard how the normal people, how they interact, how they speak to each other, using swear words in every other sentence, and just the unrefined, uncultured, undignified way in which average people interact in today's world. And it's so different from our wonderful, rich, deep, sensitive spiritual culture. This material world is so diametrically opposed to the spiritual world. We have to really realize what a foreign place this is. We have to build and grow our desire to be there. And in that way, Krishna consciousness then becomes more and more natural. Then chanting is not so much of a chore, but it is our investment. We take it very seriously because we're connecting with a person. Krishna, God, is not just a theory, an idea, a concept, a philosophical construct, as some philosophers will argue. Krishna's God. Krishna is the Lord in my heart. Krishna is my ever well-wishing friend. Krishna is my everything. That's Krishna consciousness. So then when you chant in a way to communicate with Krishna, to massage his lotus feet, to please him, to satisfy him, to deepen your communication and connection with him, then chanting becomes different. I was saying yesterday, I was looking at one devotee a few days ago chanting, and he's saying, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. And it looked so just looking at him looked painful. Because he's just trying to get it done, and he's getting the words out, and he's inattentive because he just wants to get it done and out of the way. But that is just like the builder who's just doing a slapdash job to get it out of the way. But he's very misguided. He's misguided. In the same way, we should not be misguided in our spiritual activities, in our spiritual endeavors. We have to realize we have to be very conscious that this is real life. This is real life. This is really important. Krishna consciousness is really important, and everything else I'm doing in order to support my Krishna consciousness, that is number one in my life. That is the most important thing. Krishna is my everything. Going back to Godhead is the goal of my life, and everything else I do because I have to do because I got to live in this world. That is a sign of a serious devotee. So sometimes devotees say to me, the book is expensive. These books are expensive. There's a material element to this. The production of the books is expensive. That's a fact. And I can go through the details with devotees at the table. But then my question is going back to Godhead worth the price? It's a priceless attainment. How serious are we in our lives to attain the ultimate goal of life? How much is an iPhone? £1,200. It's crazy. Is that right? The iPhone 14 is £1,200, right? The Pro probably, right?
The Pro is 1,700.
My God, Krishna. So, there are some people who buy a new iPhone every year. It comes out. There was one man. He lives in South India. He flew especially to Dubai. Yeah, I don't know if anyone saw this article on BBC. I live in Hungary, but I still check BBC. It's informative. And he flew all the way to Dubai because in Dubai the iPhone was being released a few days before it was in South India. He wanted to get his hands on the iPhone before anyone else. He wanted to go back home and be able to tell everyone that I'm the first guy to get the iPhone. Put it on Facebook. It got to the BBC. I mean, that's real advertisement. It got onto BBC. At Facebook, anyone can put anything up on Facebook, but this came on BBC. So, how materially absorbed is the consciousness? And when you really look at it with perspective, step back and look at how transient everything is in this world. Sometimes I think, the demigods must be looking down at us and just thinking, what fools? And then, Brahma's looking down at the demigods and thinking about them, what fools? And ultimately the Rajvasis, they don't even look, they're so absorbed in Krishna. They don't even realize. Yes?
Some of them may not have brought the cash today. Do you have the
Cards. You can do cards.
Just to let you know that there's a coordination in case if you don't have the cash.
But I was working on the book, I was reading it and studying it, and it's so absorbing. This material world envelops us. It covers us. It grabs us and just sucks us in. In the same way, Krishna Katha can also envelop us, can grab us and suck us in. That's the kind of enveloping, covering that we want, that we're looking for. So reading and hearing about Krishna gives us that opportunity. And I encourage everyone to take that opportunity.
Anybody else have any questions?
Quick question. Manaji, you have something?
Yes, Prabhuji. But I wanted to ask you, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Very beautiful class. Really enjoyed it. Hare Krishna. Was very, very good class, really enjoyed it. And by answering Prabhuji's question, the previous question, you said we need to be more absorbed. How do I practice chanting in a more absorbed way?
Are you retired, Manaji?
I am retired, yes.
I would say number one, chant 32 rounds a day. Get up early and chant 32 rounds a day. Do 16 first thing. If you can do all 32 together, then even better. But just that brings a certain degree of absorption. Sometimes you find that you chant 16 rounds and only at the end do you really begin to become absorbed. Some say that actually chanting only really begins after 16 rounds. Because there's a certain level of absorption and just connection which comes as you chant more and more. So that's my first recommendation, Maharaji, chant extra rounds. Second thing is avoid those things which take your consciousness away. Gramya Katha is very dangerous. Offences to devotees. Hearing about Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, he would never hear any offence against devotees. He would never hear anything wrong about devotees, anything bad about devotees. Even if someone was guilty, even if it was a truth, he still went away from a place where anything ill was being spoken. So, and third thing, associate with advanced devotees as much as you can. They have a very special potency to give Krishna consciousness, to give inspiration in Krishna consciousness, to give that kind of absorption and focus, and just a natural inspiration in Krishna consciousness. So spending time with advanced devotees, at least hearing from them, but even better, being in their physical presence as much as possible. Much more I could say, but I'd say those three things for now. Chant extra rounds. Second thing, avoid Gramya Katha. And finally, association. Short answer.
Thank you.
Maharaji. And then last one, and then we'll stop.
I'm not sure if I got it right, but when you were answering the first question. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So thank you so much for this wonderful lecture. I'm not sure if I got it right when you were answering the question, the first one. I understand that, our goal should be to create a place for ourselves in the spiritual world. And in some way you did mention about, problems arising in the material world. I'm not sure, shouldn't we be looking at the problems that arise in the material world as a stepping stone or as a way of attaining or being one step closer, in our spiritual journey?
In what way?
So obviously when problems come or problems arise, it's a testing time for a person.
Yes.
So then, we will be more focusing or channelizing our energies towards Krishna consciousness.
Who comes to mind in this regard? Who says this?
A devotee?
Yes, but where? In Bhagavatam. Who says this? Queen Kunti. What's the verse? How does it begin? Bhavatu tu darshanam. Vipada santu tasha shvat tatra jagat kuro. That's the last line. So she says, please Krishna, give me suffering, give me difficulties, and imagine what her and her sons went through. Constant difficulty. But give me more suffering, give me more pain, give me more difficulty, because within that forces me to take shelter of you in a deeper way. So sure, absolutely. Narad Muni describes to Vyasadeva, his disciple, his previous life, and he describes how he was a young boy of 5 years old. He didn't know his mother. His mother was a maidservant, and she went out to milk a cow and was bitten by a snake. Whether that was a snake of time and it's kind of poetic, or physically bitten by a snake is unclear, but it doesn't matter, she died. So the Narad Muni was alone, and Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that this is the way in which Krishna, the Lord, he drags a sincere soul closer to him. How? By giving him pain and suffering in the world. Srila Prabhupada describes many times, he has this verse 1088.8 from the Bhagavatam. Yasyaham anugranami harishyetadanam shanai. He says, when Krishna has special mercy on an individual, he gives them difficulties in this world. It's special mercy. Because in that situation, we do have more of a tendency, I lose hope. of being happy in this material world. This is not the place where I will get what I'm looking for. This is not my home. So it's special mercy. Absolutely. But a devotee, a sincere devotee, takes every situation as a facility, as an opportunity to become Krishna conscious. So if Krishna gives you wealth, then a sincere devotee will not become enamored by it. He won't go on holiday to the Bahamas and enjoy the world. He'll still go to the dhams, still live a relatively simple life and be dedicated to Krishna. And serve Krishna with his wealth, with his car, with whatever facility that he has. So in this way, a devotee, a sincere spiritualist, knows how to use every situation, whether good or bad for the material senses. No situation is good or bad. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Dvaita Bhadra Bhadra Gyan E Sabha Brahma. This is good and this is bad. It's all an illusion. Nothing is good or bad in this material world. Everything should be and has to be used in Krishna consciousness. And that's the formula of how to get out of this material world.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attention. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having us, and I wish you grow from strength to strength in your spiritual lives individually and collectively. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, thank you so much for the wonderful lecture, and it was a very interactive session. I can see that devotees are fully fired up. So whenever you are here in Manchester or directly from Hungary, you are very welcome to Manchester, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Let's show our appreciation by loudly chanting Hare Krishna mantra.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So Prabhuji will be in the next room with books. So kindly go and take a book. He would be happy to serve you that way. As we mentioned, if you don't have cash, he's happy to accept the card. He's got a card machine. So it's worth your money. This is the best way you use your money. Yeah. So thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for taking your time. Coming for the first time, kindly register into our WhatsApp communication group, and the QR code displayed in the notice board. So you can scan and join our WhatsApp group for the communication. Also, beginning from this Sunday, we are having a 3-session Bhagavad Gita course. Yes, so that will take place from 4 o'clock here in this temple hall, 4 till 5:30 after Prasadam. And there are upcoming festival. Kartik is full of festivals, as you know. Diwali, we will celebrate Diwali here in the temple room on 25th of October. It's a Tuesday. We will have an evening program from 7 o'clock onwards. And our major festival in the Kartik month is Govardhan. Prabhuji mentioned about Govardhan Puja. We will be celebrating that in Jain Samaj, starting from 6, and it's a Wednesday. Please bear that in mind. And also on October 28th, it's Friday, we will celebrate Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day here in the temple. Anything else, Radhavinoda Prabhu? This is month of Kartik, so if you'd like to have a program, a house program at your home, so kindly see Radhavinoda Prabhu and get a date booked in. He would be happy to come and do all the necessary things, and offering lamp, etc., etc. So we need, yes, volunteers. Yes, the 6th hour Kirtan is planned for 6th of October. Every Kartik, every Kartik we do 8-hour Kirtan, 6 to 8-hour Kirtan, and that is scheduled for 6th Sunday. It's November. Yes, so we will send you the final details, but we are currently looking for a better venue. If we can't find a venue, we will try and arrange something in the temple itself. Also, we are looking for some volunteers today. There is some service opportunity. We are looking for 4 volunteers to help us in the kitchen. If you're willing, please kindly raise your hand now. We got some special arrangements for the volunteers. If you would like to help in the kitchen. Okay. Katie Mataji, Rashmi Mataji, yourself, 4 Matajis. Yes, so can you raise your hand? Rajkumar Govinda is the man. So those who are planning to help in the kitchen, we serve them in the beginning itself. So they can take prasad and then peacefully help in the kitchen. So kindly see my friend Rajkumar Govinda. Hare Krishna. So now we'll have Damodar Ashtakam follow. Yes?
Also we need volunteers for Govardhan Festival.
More volunteers.
So please. So it's on 26th October, Wednesday. Basically program starts from 7 o'clock. But we need to load the stuff in the van and taking there. So at least I am looking for 4 to 5 people who can help from evening 5 o'clock in the temple. So if you let me know your name and the number, so that we'll meet in the temple at 5 o'clock, and the van will be available and the prasadam will be ready by that time. So we'll load in the van, take there and again unload. These services are there. Since it is a weekday, so it may be working day, but if you can make some time in the evening, it will be really helpful. Thank you, Prabhuji. So Atul Prabhu, and also if anyone else, please let us know. Yeah. So now we have Damodara prayers. Okay. So as I always mention, don't make a queue. Everyone will get the opportunity to offer ghee lamp. Definitely you won't miss. Okay. Please don't make any queue and give some space here. Yeah. So first we have some volunteers who need to do some seva. So they will offer, I think Usha Mataji, Bhuneshwari Mataji and Pranishta Prabhu. Yeah. You please be ready to offer first. Yeah. Then rest of the people, please come in a systematic way. We will call you, then you can come. Please give some, if you all move back, you will have some space here. Harikol, please move back. We need space here. Also,
can everyone please make some space here, as we need some space for offering. Take this off. यहाँ रखने से यार. Put that here. God. Yeah, we can't do. Like Sumit did once. He tried. He did the same.
Once you offer those who offer healing, if you leave the room, the rest of the people will get the space to move. Okay? It's fully
जय श्री राधा दामोदर भगवान की जय श्री दामोदर अष्टकम की नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपम् नशत्कुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानम् नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपम् दशकुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानम् यशोदाभियोलुकालाधवमानम् परं रेष्टमात्यन्ततो धृत्य गोप्या रुदन्तं मुहुर्नेत्रायुग्मं विजान्तम् करं भोजयुग्मेन सातङ्कनेत्रं रुदन्तम् मुहुश्वासकं पात्रिरेखाङ्ककण्ठा स्थिताग्रैवं दामोदरबाधम् इति दृक्ष्वलीलाभिरानन्दकुन्दे स्वघोषामिमाजान्तम् अज्ञापयन्तम् अदीयसिताग्नेषु भक्तजिता त्वम् पुनः प्रेमतस्तं सतावृत्ति वन्दे वरं देव मोक्षं न मोक्षं वधुं वा न चान्यां मृणेऽहं वर्षदपिहा मोक्षं वधुं वा न चान्यां मृणेऽहं इदं ते वपुर्नाथा गोपालबालम् सदा मे मनस्याविरस्तं किमन्ये इदं ते वपुर्नाथा गोपालबालम् इदं ते मुखं भोजम् अत्यन्तनीले वृतं कुन्तलैः स्निग्धा रक्ताश्च गोप्या मुहुश्चुम्बितं बिम्बारक्ताधरं मे मनस्याविरस्तं मालं लक्ष्यलाभे नमो देव दामोदरानन्त विष्णु प्रसीद प्रभु दुःख जलविमग्नं नमो कृपादृष्टिवृष्ट्याति दिनं बतानु गृहान्वेषममग्नमे दक्षिद्रेष्या कृपादृष्टिवृष्ट्याति दिनं बतानु कुबेरात्मजो बद्धा मृत्यैव यावत् त्वया मोचितौ भक्ति भजौ कृतौ च तथा प्रेम भक्तिं स्वकामे प्रयाच्छे न मोक्षे ग्रहो मे श्री दामोदरेह नमस्ते स्तुताम्ने स्फुरदीप्तिधाम्ने त्वदीयोदराय सा विश्वस्य धाम्ने नमो नमस्ते स्तुताम्ने स्फुरदीप्तिधाम्ने त्वदीयोदराय सा विश्वस्य धाम्ने नमो राधिकायै त्वदीया प्रियायै नमो अनन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यं नमो राधिका नमो राधिकायै त्वदीया प्रियायै नमो राधिकायै त्वदीया प्रियायै नमो राधिकायै त्वदीया प्रियायै नमो राधिकायै त्वदीया प्रियायै नमो अनन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यं नमो राधिका नमो राधिकायै त्वदीया प्रियायै नमो अनन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यं Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Please listen carefully what I'm singing. Don't assume what I'm going to be singing and sing. Please listen to it carefully. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama. Very good. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, listen now. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Shri Radhe
Radha Damodar Radha Damodar
Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Shri Radhe
Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Shri Radhe
Jaya Shri Radhe Shri Radhe Shri Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe
Jaya Shri Radhe Shri Radhe Shri Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe
Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram
Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram
Jaya Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Jaya Radhe Shyam
Jaya Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Jaya Radhe Shyam
Jaya Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Jaya Radhe Shyam
Jaya Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Jaya Radhe Shyam
Jaya Jaya Vrindavan Dham Jaya Vrindavan Dham Jaya Vrindavan Dham Jaya Vrindavan Dham
Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram
Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan
Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan
Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada
Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo
Jagora Haribo 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 Jagora Haribo
Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo
Jagora Haribo 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 Jagora Haribo
Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo
Jagora Haribo 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 Jagora Haribo
जय श्री श्री राधा दामोदर भगवान की जय श्री श्री कार्तिक मास की जय श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर भगवान की जय श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की जय श्री श्री गौर निताय की परम भूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय जय श्री प्रेम से कहो जय जय श्री प्रेम से कहो जय जय श्री श्याम जय गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की आई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की अनंत कोटि वैश्य वृंद की आई गौर प्रेमानंदे
हरि 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 बोल जय जय
It's working.
Hare Krishna. And then
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Jai Radhe Jai Shyam.
Give one paragraph each. Okay. Last one, two, give it to 8 people.
Alright, okay. Well, to the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who I, due to the offence of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter, and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodara, I offer my humble obeisances.
Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his 2 lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To this Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound not with ropes but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances.
By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence, that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy, and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar, hundreds and hundreds of times.
O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Bala Gopal in Vrindavan may ever be manifest in my heart. For what is the use of me of any other boon besides this?
O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me.
O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you. O Damodara, O Ananda, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me by showering your glance of mercy upon me. Deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows, and become visible to my eyes.
O Lord Damodara, just as the 2 sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakuvera, were delivered from the curse of Narada, and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby tied with rope to a wooden grinding mortar, in the same way, please give me your own Prema Bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation.
O Lord Damodar, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent robe which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord who displays unlimited pastimes. Lord Shri Damodar ki.
महाप्रसादे गोविंदे नाम ब्राह्मणि वैष्णवे स्वल्प पुण्यवितं राजन् विश्वशून्य विजायते शरीरार विद्याजार जयेन्द्रियता है कार जीव फैले विषय सागरे तालमत जीवायति लोभमय सुधुर्मति ताखे चेता कठिन संसारे कृष्ण बड़ दयामय ओ गौरी बार जीव जाय स्वार प्रसाद न दिलो भाई अनामृत पाओ राधा कृष्ण गुण गाओ ओ प्रेमिद गोश्री चैतन्य निताय ओ जैन माय जैन निताय ओ जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। श्री भगवत महाप्रसाद में की, श्री यशोदा दामोदर भगवान की, श्री राधा दामोदर भगवान की। Prasadam awaits outside. Oh, sorry, inside.
जय श्री पंडित भगवान की जय, जय श्री प्रभुपाद की।